If we would, we'll just open up with just some of your comments about the scrimmage.
I think organizationally it was what we want. I guess as somebody said, everybody wins their spring game, but anytime you divide your squad and you put one on one side, one on the other, first organizationally you've got to be able to kick the ball. You've got to be able to do kickoffs and punts and whatnot. So definitely pleased with that. We came away with no major injuries, which with us being a little bunged up, as we've talked about, that was a big concern. So we made it through and saw some good individual efforts. And when we talk different sides of the ball, we'll talk about that. But I was definitely pleased with the effort. Great crowd tonight. Good to see. Our band was there and all those good things. So I just thought it was a good night.
Let's take some questions, Sheriff.
It looked like Jenkins got the best of it, even though he was going against the second-team defense. But
yeah, exactly. And I think that's relative to the fact that that's who he had with him. He had the A2s with him. And, this was his night. He didn't. If he don't turn it over a little bit, it'd be really good. But he came out and had the explosive play, first play. You see his athleticism and how he can move around. He's got a great arm. I thought he had a good night. Yep.
When he played with the ones in the second half, was that just to give him a look with the ones? Or?
Exactly. And that's what we wanted to see. You're going against probably a little more cohesive unit over there on the defensive side of the ball. We wanted to see him behind the one offensive line. And, so that was a plan from the get-go. They were both going to swap just so we could see both with both.
Buster had the leading rusher, and I just talked about how he's developed this spring.
Well, I think one, and somebody made this statement, and it made me feel good. Physically he looks better, and I think he was a good-looking guy when we got here, but he looks like a big-time running back now, and that was the point for all our guys. We need to get stronger. And there's going to be a time from now to that first game, or specifically till fall camp, we've got to get stronger. We've got to get faster. And of course, we're huge believers in the weight room. But I thought he had a good night. And then that starts with ball security. Everything for us that we do offensively starts with protecting the football. And we did that from a running standpoint. Now, we threw a few picks or whatever, but and that goes, defense played well, but I thought he did a good job protecting the ball and running hard.
You mentioned effort, and I know it's just a spring game. Was there anything, though, that you saw that you were maybe even pleasantly surprised about, that you liked, something that you look at, maybe as far as individuals go, that you see that you can build on? Yeah,
I think everything for us, we preach tempo, and I know people might be getting sick of hearing that already, but it goes over to how does your defense handle that? And I watch when a guy gets tired, does he shut it down? And you can see that. I've seen it. We played against it and had guys that played for us do that. I didn't see that. There may have been one or two times I noticed that the defense wasn't lying when the ball was snapped, and I think they just didn't get the call, which is our fault. We got to get the call in faster. But the defense handled the tempo, because we tempoed it the whole game offensively. Maybe a few times we slowed it down, but they handled that. I think the offense executed the call. So just from being in good enough shape to execute that kind of game, because that's what a lot of people are going to do from an offensive standpoint. So I was definitely pleased with that.
Turnovers has been an emphasis, and there were obviously some interceptions tonight, but how many of those were bad throws? How many were great plays by the defense? How did you see that?
And I'd like to go back and look at it, but from my vantage point, I saw some really good plays. I saw some guys break on the ball, and when we tell our defensive back, it's your ball. You've got to go attack the ball. You've got to go make the play. And, sometimes the quarterback, I'm looking over and I think a guy's open, and all of a sudden somebody broke on the ball. And, that's what we've coached. That's what we've talked about. Some of that is some pressure. And you talk to your quarterback about being smart, but you got to give the defense credit too. So, we had some guys make some really good plays, good interception return, in fact, more than one. So, I'm sitting over there from my side. I'm upset at the quarterback, but I'm happy at the defensive guy for making the play, because that's one of the big things we've talked about is takeaways.
Bynum was like he's got some catch and score speed.
He really does. He was a big-time recruit. He was a guy that you knew about offensively and defensively. I knew about him in South Alabama when he was coming out. And we feel like that guy's got tons of potential. And you got to see it tonight. He was an offensive weapon in high school. And that's kind of the neat thing about getting a guy who played both ways in high school. Coming from a bigger school where those guys didn't do that, sometimes you always don't get to see that guy with both sets of skills. And to see a guy that was a good offensive player in high school, well, there it was. You saw him being a good running back once he got his hands on him. So he's got, he's got a lot of potential for sure.
Have you considered allowing him to return kicks?
We really, yeah, I mean, I think he could be in that mix. We've got some really, really good returners. I mean, and I was, we were talking about it on the radio. One of the things we've spent a ton of time on is our special teams. And it's tough because we couldn't show it tonight, We've got some really good returners. I think next fall, people are going to really be pleasantly surprised. Because we spent a ton of time on that, and then you can say, well, you can't return it because we don't have the true teams out there, and I'm afraid one of our returners will get hurt. But, I mean, he's a guy that could do it. I mean, I think he's got that ability. But the guys we've got really doing it are really going to be good.
Did you get everything accomplished this spring that you wanted to?
I don't think any coach is ever going to say he did, really. I mean, but to come from, we're sitting there meeting guys for the first time, a brand new staff, weight room, speed work. I encourage, all that goes together to me, and then 15 days of practice. I feel pretty good, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do between that first game, obviously, but they did a good job. I mean, our guys really handled how hard we practiced them and handled it with a good attitude. Tried to give us, I think, everything they had. So, yeah, you got to come away pleased with that.
Any other questions?